Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Howdy and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We've got a good show for you tonight. Standing by in the wings is Mr. John Cornett with some fabulous music. How are you, John?
Very good, Paul. Thank you very much.
Good. Right next to me is the illustrious host of the radio show Time for Hemp and our joint host here on Cannabis Common Sense, Mr. Casper Leach. Howdy, Casper.
It rocks to be part of the family. Thank you, Paul.
Our pleasure. And we have a great hemp news segment for you tonight. We'll be running some clips, including another clip from strain hunters as they journey around Morocco. So stay tuned for a great show as we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, tonight's first story is right here in Oregon. Oregon's new law, which allows medical marijuana dispensaries and creates a registry for them, also comes with another key provision aimed at protecting patients. It requires testing of cannabis for mold, mildew, and pesticide. That puts Oregon in the company of just a few states which require medical marijuana testing. Naturally, some cannabis advocates have lobbied states which allow medical marijuana to require lab testing for impurities and sometimes potency, arguing that patients deserve detailed information about the product before using it. The 13-member panel in charge of writing rules for Oregon's House Bill 3640 met for a second time last Friday at the state capitol. The committee, made up of lawyers, advocates, law enforcement officials, and state administrators, is working through complicated legal and technical issues as it figures out how to regulate an industry which is already booming in Oregon. The committee is expected to finish drafting the rules by December 1st. Committee facilitator Tom Burns, who oversees Oregon's pharmaceutical drug program, asked the Oregon Department of Agriculture for input on how to proceed with cannabis testing standards. Theodore Bunch, with the state's Pesticide Analytical and Response Center, is heading up that effort and is scheduled to report to committee on Friday. The panel is examining how often cannabis should be tested and who should do the testing. Among the items to be decided is if third-party labs or dispensaries themselves will do the testing and whether labs should be required to register with the state. Also at stake is whether any levels of mold and mildew and pesticide will be allowed, and if so, determining the cutoff point for safety. According to Burns, he said, quote, "This testing thing is really going to be a very complicated issue," end quote. Whether to allow any pesticide at all is a key question, according to Bunch. The long-term health implications of marijuana contaminants like mold, mildew, and pesticide aren't known, he said. He said, quote, "From an inhalation standpoint, I don't believe there are any tolerances or benchmarks that say this level of mold is acceptable or that level of mildew is acceptable. There aren't standards out there in that regard," end quote, Bunch said. Marijuana testing labs should have to undergo a state certification process, according to Roshawn Reardon, owner of Greenleaf Labs, a cannabis testing business in Portland. She employs 5 people, all of them registered medical marijuana patients. She said, quote, "A professional lab should have a chemist who has an educational background to run the equipment and be able to follow good educational practice," end quote. Jill Lamoureux, who works as a medical marijuana consultant in Colorado, said potency testing should also be a standard requirement. Patients need information to determine dosing, she said. When you talk about adult use, you go into a liquor store and the proof is on the label. She said patients who aren't accustomed to high THC levels should know the potency so they don't become uncomfortable from taking too much. Our next story is from London in the United Kingdom. The concomitant administration of various non-psychoactive plant cannabinoids demonstrates synergistic anti-cancer activity in human leukemia cells, according to preclinical trial data published online this week in the journal Anti-Cancer Research. Investigators from St. George University of London assessed the anti-cancer potential of 3 non-psychoactive cannabinoids, cannabidiol, cannabigerol, and cannabigerverin, and their respective acids on 2 types of leukemia cell lines. The authors reported that the administration of cannabinoids in concert with one another resulted in an additive, mildly synergistic interaction. The authors concluded, quote, "Our findings indicate that cannabinoids act with each other in a way such that doses for therapy could be reduced without a significant loss of activity." This study adds further support to the idea that cannabinoids can have a role in the cancer setting, not only as single agents, but also in combination with each other, end quote. Commenting on the study in a press release, lead author Wai Lu said, quote, "These agents are able to interfere with the development of cancerous cells, stopping them in their tracks and preventing them from growing. In some cases, by using specific dosage patterns, they can destroy cancer cells on their own. Used in combination with existing treatment, we could discover some highly effective strategies for tackling cancer. Significantly, these compounds are inexpensive to produce, and making better use of their unique properties could result in much more cost-effective anti-cancer drugs in the future," end quote. Plant cannabinoids, as well as endogenous cannabinoids, have been consistently shown to be potent anti-cancer inhibitors in preclinical models, halting the proliferation of glioma cells, prostate cancer cells, breast carcinoma, lung carcinoma, and lymphoma, among other cancer cell lines. The full text of this study, enhancing the activity of cannabidiol and other cannabinoids in vitro through modifications to drug combinations and treatment schedules, appears online in Anti-Cancer Research. Out of Bern, Switzerland, minor marijuana possession offenses have been reclassified as fine-only offenses, just like here in Oregon, under a new Swiss law that went into effect earlier this month. Under the law, the possession of up to 10 grams of cannabis by those 18 years or older is punishable by a fine now. Those cited in Switzerland for cannabis will no longer have to appear in criminal court or be penalized with a criminal record. Swiss government officials backed the measure to bring uniformity to the nation's marijuana possession penalties, which had previously varied greatly from canton or member state to another. Possessing larger quantities of cannabis, as well as cultivating or selling the plant, remains subject to criminal penalties. In the United States, several states, including California, Connecticut, Nebraska, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Oregon, have enacted similar decriminalization laws regarding marijuana possession, replacing criminal penalties with civil sanctions only. Next story is from Jerusalem in Israel. Legalizing the retail production and sale of cannabis would generate an estimated 1.6 shekels, approximately $450 million annually, according to an economic assessment published this month by the Jerusalem Institute for Market Studies, or JIMS. The authors estimate the existing Israeli marijuana market to total some 2.5 billion shekels, or about $704 million. They estimate that taxes imposed on the plant could yield some 950 million shekels, or $207 million, in new annual revenue, while such a change in the law would save an additional 700 million shekels, or $197 million, in prosecutorial costs. According to the JIMS paper, cannabis-related offenses in Israel comprise some 5.2% of the nation's criminal cases. An estimated 5.4% of all Israeli prisoners are incarcerated for cannabis violations. According to the paper's co-author, Yarden Gazit, quote, recognizing the enormous financial gains that would come from legalization demands that the government take a serious look at the proposal to legalize cannabis under specific guidelines. There's no disputing that if the public is able to get past the wholly negative misperceptions associated with marijuana usage and appreciate the potential benefits with limited social or healthcare costs, this is an idea that needs open-minded and serious re-examination at this time, end quote. The cultivation and distribution of cannabis for therapeutic purposes in Israel is presently legal and is strongly supported by the public. By contrast, the most recent polls show only about 26% of Israelis endorse allowing cannabis for social purposes. Out of Florida, last summer, Orlando trial lawyer John Morgan said he was prepared to spend, quote, a lot of money, end quote, on a ballot initiative to legalize medical marijuana in Florida. So far, he's putting his money where his mouth is. The latest campaign finance records show Morgan and his law firm have pitched in $400,000 to the People United for Medical Marijuana, our PUFM campaign, reports Arlen Deslett of the Orlando Sentinel. That's nearly two-thirds of the $644,000 the group has raised through September, with $250,000 of that coming in the past 3 months. The other major donor to the Florida campaign has been a Democratic fundraiser and philanthropist Barbara Stifel of Coral Gables, who contributed $100,000. PUFM has collected enough signatures, about 105,000 of the required 683,000, to make the 2014 general election ballot to trigger Florida's Supreme Court review and economic analysis of the measure's financial impact on the state, which is currently underway. Longtime Democratic fundraiser Morgan, who backs former Governor Charlie Crist in the Florida gubernatorial race, makes speeches around the state in support of medical marijuana and this initiative. He told a Tallahassee crowd in August how both his father and brother suffered from cancer and injuries and turned to cannabis to find relief from their pain. Morgan said, quote, "This service is going to give thousands of people who are sick, hurting, and injured peace at the end of their lives. I'm probably going to spend a lot of money, but if people are going to be better off, I'll be happy." The measure, even if it gets on the ballot, faces a steep uphill climb. Under Florida law, constitutional amendments must garner 60% of the popular vote in order to pass. That's the end of our hemp news segment tonight. We're going to jump over to a brief musical interlude with John Cornett. Welcome back, John.
Thank you, Paul. You know, I was listening to you talk there. I was just wondering when we were going to start talking about how many lives cannabis saves. You know, we always talk about making their lives comfortable at the end. What about how many lives it actually saves?
Very good point. All right. Thank you, John. That kind of a Indian raga sound to it or something like that.
It's called you go out and take a toke and come and see what happens.
Ah, okay.
Just
So
made it up on the
improv.
spot, though.
All right. Well, pretty good. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome, Casper.
Thank you
Good
very
having you
much.
back. And welcome, viewers. We are taking your phone calls tonight. If you have a question about ending adult marijuana prohibition or restoring industrial hemp, call us at that number there on your screen. It's 288-4442. That's 288-4442. And we'll be taking your calls for about another 40 minutes, right up to the top of the hour. And so, Casper, you've been dealing with the rollout of your vast network of radio things across the world.
It's been really exciting. I pop on the headset and I hear Spanish-speaking individuals talking about how we need to end prohibition, all in Spanish. And I occasionally hear a word that I understand, like El Cannabis Hola or something like that, right? And then, like this morning at 4 a.m. Our time, we had a great activist come on. He's going to be on every week from Paris, France.
So 4 a.m. our time is like 1 in the afternoon there.
It is. It's great. And he's broadcasting live in French. And soon we're going to have a German broadcast. And so be getting this message out to all the different languages now has been really exciting under one umbrella. And we brought out Michael Krawitz's Hemp Museum program this week, which was really exciting. So
he's also going to do another one about medical cannabis?
He's doing an international policy program every other Sunday as well. So and then this weekend we got Carl Olson debuting his program, and I think Marilyn Mathery and Al Byrne are debuting their program.
They're the founders of Patients Out of Time.
They are. They
put on a big medical conference every other year, and I think next year's is supposed to be here in Portland.
It is, as a matter of fact. And then we've got a group from Colorado that's Timmy Tipton is doing his broadcast on our network. And then we got Tara Joyce starts Monday night with her midnight to 2 a.m. comedy from around the world. She's one of the winners of Last Comic Standing. Mm-hmm. And so every time I turn around, there's a new activist from some point on this planet that is trying to end prohibition coming on board so that we collectively let the world know that it is time for hemp. So yeah, I've been really, really very excited and up to here and work, I'll tell you.
So if someone wants to tune in, they go to Time, the digit for hemp.
Timeforhemp.com, and that brings you to the Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network. I was going to change the URL, but everybody involved pointed out that I'd be shooting myself in the foot. So we built
So now our show's streaming on there too?
Starting next Friday. The person who will be doing it will either be me or Sasha, and we're both here this evening. And because Debbie Goldsberry is also starting her programming next Friday. And so we're going to have a full lineup on Friday evenings, and Andre Herman's beginning her program every Tuesday and Thursday from the northern parts of America. And Al Byrne's bringing on his team from Canada every Monday and Wednesday. And so, yeah, we got people from all around the world who are coming on, letting the world know how important it is to get together and end prohibition. I'm really excited at the response that we've gotten and the large number of people who are tuning in. And I really feel honored to be part of this group and to be
Well, I hope it all works out. It sounds like a huge undertaking. I heard about Andrea Herman joining in there, and we're helping her host her website as well. So,
oh, that'd be great. Well, I know she's going to get a lot of traffic, so
she's
she'll need
teaching
the
a
help.
hemp course down at Oregon State University.
Okay.
And so she's been leading that in addition to working with the National Hemp Industry Association. So.
Well, what made me approach her about doing a show was when we did the Global Hemp Summit. She took over the responsibilities of bringing together the collective of people.
She did a great job on that.
For the industrial hemp topic. And she was so on cue, and she had all of her notes in order. Great question and answer, great radio voice, and a lot of good connections. I just figured that she would be an awesome host for a wonderful program. And I'm looking forward to watching that and all the other shows grow. It's an unusual point to be in, Paul. I've had to worry only about a 1-hour broadcast. Now I take on the responsibility of many hosts, and I no longer feel like I'm doing this just for me. you know, like me and my dogs and a few people who are interested in my work. Now I get out of bed every day and make certain that everything I do is to help make everybody else who's part of our team now at the network a success. And that's a heavy weight on my shoulder, but one that I
Well, good luck on
love
that.
to carry.
You know, we've been moving forward with our initiative campaign. We're up to about 15,000 signatures. We need 87,000 valid registered Oregon signatures by July 7th of next year to put a revision of last year's Measure 80 on the ballot here in Oregon. So now we're at about 15,000. We need more than 87,000 to ensure qualification. Then we also have about a little over 15,000 signatures on a constitutional amendment. So we're circulating those concurrently. So if you see petition gatherers out there, you can be sure to sign both marijuana petitions. The constitutional amendment, which would amend Oregon's constitution with 2 short sentences that says that people can possess, use, and grow cannabis and its derivatives, and the state can regulate that for public safety. That's the constitutional amendment. The statutory measure, which would be a state law, outlines a new regulatory model. We've revised it based on the vote last year, so we're pretty certain that we can win with this measure. So we're trying to put both of these on the ballot for next November, about a year and half a month away. So stay tuned. If you want to get involved, you can come down to the address that's there on the bottom of your screen or call our office at 503-235-4606. We also have a canvas operation going on where we've been going door to door through many of the neighborhoods here in Portland. We've scoured and found 2,200 donors who've donated a total so far of $55,000. So that's helping us move this campaign along. It takes a broad base of donors. In addition to our donations through CRRH, we also have a Texas organization, the Foundational for Constitutional Protection, that is also helping with that group. And so we formed an organization behind the constitutional amendment called Help End Marijuana Prohibition in Oregon. And then we have the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp in Oregon that's pushing the revision of Measure 80. But they're working in tandem, and we're out there gathering signatures. If our fundraisers come to your door, be sure to show them some love. And if you'd like to get some signatures or just come in and sign the petition, you can come to our office at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. That's 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. Or go to our website at cannabistaxact.org or crrh.org, or our portal to all our other sites. It's easy to remember at hemp.org, HEMP.org. And of course, that stands for Help End Marijuana Prohibition, in case you didn't know.
I thought what you were talking about at the top of the news hour was just amazing and fantastic. I don't know, I'm sure there are people who are pulling their hair out saying, well, too much regulation and I don't want people's nose in my business, but I'm glad that you're my caregiver, so I don't have to worry about pesticides. I don't have to worry about mold.
Boy, I've had to worry about mold and mildew this year. This has been the wettest September on record, which has been bad for our crop. We've had a lot of mold, probably the most mold we've ever had, so that destroyed a lot of our outdoor crop.
I think this commission and what they're doing is just commendable, and I wish them all kinds of... Are you involved with this? They got doctors involved with this, or there's just another one of those?
Not really. No, I'm not directly involved in it, but I'm supportive, and we'll see what kind of regulations come out of that. Okay. We have a film clip that we're going to roll right now, and we'll be back in just a second after the film clip. Is it ready? Okay. One moment. It's coming in a minute. So stay tuned. Anyway, again, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We're taking your questions about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients. So you have that. We also have a studio audience here, and they have some questions. And you're welcome to come down and join the studio audience. Most every Friday night, we're here at 2766 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. That's 2766 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And you can come in, enjoy our show, talk to us, and ask a question here live in the studio if you desire to do that. So, is the video ready to roll? No, the video is not ready to roll. They told me it was ready to roll a minute ago, but so it goes. You know, one thing I want to talk about is hemp energy. You know, I really believe that the main reason that marijuana was prohibited was about hemp fuel, biofuel, and to displace hemp so it wouldn't compete with the petrochemical alternatives. Hemp is the most productive crop for fuel. In fact, we have a little flame here. I call it the hemp flame of freedom. It's hemp oil with a hemp wick, and it just demonstrates that hemp was the original illuminant long before they started killing whales to make oil. They started burning hemp oil and taking the hemp seed. You know, hemp is the oldest cultivated crop. It's been grown for over 12,000 years and perhaps as much as 50,000 years. And so we want to see hemp restored for fuel, fiber, and food. And you can help us, and our petition will do just that. I think we have a phone call. Let's try that instead. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
We couldn't come to the show tonight because we're guarding our plants that haven't molded.
I understand.
I got a cover over, so I got a couple that are still really doing good.
Uh-huh.
They're enjoying this nice full moon. And does the harvest moon mean it's about time to harvest?
Some people say so. You know, it's a nice spell of dry weather after 6 long wet and moldy weeks. I think next year I'm only going to be putting the mold resistant plants in the ground. Some of the bigger, denser budded plants tend to mold more. So next year I think I'm just going to put out the mold resistant ones instead of watching them go down like we did this year.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, your dogs are on it.
Yeah, it's a fire truck. I'll talk to you later, Paul.
All right, good luck. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. I think we have a question here in the studio.
Well, actually, the dogs were asking if they were allowed to have medical marijuana from their veterinarians, because, you know, veterinarians are now giving medical marijuana to dogs. And the
well, they
answer
aren't.
is,
The
woof, woof.
veterinarians aren't doing it yet, but there are dog owners who are.
Oh, okay.
You've got dogs. Do you
Yeah,
give
I
them
do.
medical marijuana?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
Well, maybe you will.
Well,
Should
I
try
don't know
it.
their background.
I
You know,
see.
It might not be good for them.
I see. Well, you know, cannabis, canine, there is a connection, at least via Latin there. Okay, go right ahead, Gary, our cowboy.
I was just wondering about when you make paper from hemp, cannabis, are you still getting that ammonia cloud over the city that you get now, like in Longview?
No.
Camas?
No, you don't need to use sulfuric acid is what they use to break down the wood fiber, and then they use chlorine to whiten the brown wood fiber, and when the lignin reacts with the bleach, that forms dioxins, which are highly toxic and cancer-causing. So none of that is produced when you make hemp paper. You use powdered limestone or quick lime to pulp the paper, and it's already pretty white, so you can use hydrogen peroxide for the whitening process. So it's much less toxic for paper production. That's a good question. One of my specialties. I used to import hemp fabric and hemp paper, especially hemp paper, with my company Tree Free Eco Paper between 1988 and 1997. We sold hemp paper all over the world, but went out of business in '97. One door closes, another one opens. Now, I do believe that film clip is finally ready to roll. So we'll be back right after this film clip. Stay tuned.
Strain Hunters trip to Morocco. We're going to leave today, Saturday. Going to drive all the way to Malaga, then to the south of Spain. Take the boat and arrive in Tangier and then go into the Rif Mountains. All the way up to Ketama. And then even after Ketama, where the original Moroccan land races go. A very exciting trip. Especially for us here in Holland. We have been buying a lot of Moroccan stuff for many places here in Holland. It's a famous product. Until the early 90s, 80% of what was sold in Dutch coffee shops was Moroccan hash, and only 10% came from Afghanistan, and the other 10% was imported marijuana from the Caribbean, like Jamaica or West Africa, Nigeria. Early 90s, because of the liberal situation in Holland, the whole system has changed. People were encouraged to grow marijuana indoors in Holland. And now 80% of the stuff that's sold in coffee shops in Holland is Dutch grown, until like a year ago. Now also this again is changing because there's a lot of import marijuana coming from other countries in Europe towards Holland, because Holland is getting more difficult to grow, so it's coming from other countries now also.
From Amsterdam we're gonna head south, direction Paris, and from there direction Spain. We're gonna cross the border near Barcelona, Girona, and then heading down south along the Spanish coast, all the way down to Malaga, Algeciras. Okay, gracias.
We drive like 3,000 k's through Europe.
It's a long trip. It's a boring trip in a way to reach the destination, but we have to get the car down there somehow. When we reach Algeciras, it's only 45 minutes on the boat to cross the strait. It's a very quick ride. It's gonna be a very long story to cross the border into Morocco, because it's summertime and it's quite a busy holiday period there. A lot of Moroccan people that are living in Europe go back to see their families this time of the year, so it's going to be extremely busy.
Can't be so difficult, no?
Spain, man. You can make it as difficult as you want. They're doing 17 things at the same time, you know? They're not just doing our tickets.
Ellos no vuelven.
No, yo vuelvo el coche.
Coche.
Okay.
Os cortan esto, esto te lo quedas tú.
Ok,
¿Vale?
está bien.
No lo pierdas.
Está
no
bien,
se lo des a
está
nadie
bien.
que no vuelve.
Está bien.
¿Vale?
Ok.
Detrás del Renault.
Sí.
Y esperamos, ¿vale?
Muy bien.
What you say?
Do not lose this, otherwise the car. Hopefully we're going to be able to arrive at our first destination around 10, 11, midnight in the night of the first day of crossing the strait.
All right, that was an excerpt of the Greenhouse Seed Company in Amsterdam and their new series called Strain Hunters, as you can see all over their t-shirts. This is the DVD cover. They have a variety of expeditions where they go to places all over the world. We didn't quite get to the cannabis fields of Morocco. Stay tuned. Next week we'll try to have some of those videos. But Morocco, of course, is very famous for its hashish, and I'm sure they will sample some of that in their new Strain Hunter DVD. Okay. So again, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, hi there. Good on that video switcher. Then give us a call at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We're also streaming live on the internet. If you know anyone around the country who you think should, or the world for that matter, you think should be watching the show, they can tune in live at ustream.tv. Of course, you can watch the repeats anytime on YouTube.
And starting next week, you're going to be on iHeartRadio.
On iHeartRadio too, another step forward. And Andrea Herman's calling her show iHemp Radio or something, I think.
She is. We have a lot of very creative talent, and they're coming up with some really nice names for their programming and some great formats for their message. It's going to be fun to watch these programs grow, to say the least. These activists really know the ins and outs of prohibition and the proper people to approach and how to get the right questions and answers to the audience's ears. So I have a really good feeling that this network, with the collective group of people, it's going to be a powerful source of information.
All right. You know, I had the pleasure last month of traveling to Europe. The folks with expogrow.net put on a big conference and convention in San Sebastian. We got some bad news from them back on the 9th. They were raided, and the folks at Ganja Jazz Club, one of the social clubs in Spain, they have about 400 social clubs where people band together and grow their own cannabis, and so most of them get away with it. Ganja Jazz Club has for the past few years, but the police came in and harvested their crop back on the 9th, so we send out our condolences to them. Also, we want to say hi to some folks back in Nebraska and Wisconsin who are watching the show, and tell them we hope they can grow hemp and have medical marijuana there soon too. We have another caller though. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
The law being passed where it helps the consumer more. Well, what was that about? I missed.
There's a new dispensary system here in Oregon for medical marijuana patients. So there's a 13-member committee that is helping draft new rules for the Oregon Health Authority. And so they're supposed to come out with their draft rules on December 1st. And sometime next year, they're going to start regulating the dispensaries. And so they're talking about testing cannabis to make sure it doesn't have mold, mildew, or pesticide residue. And of course that will help patients because no one needs to consume mold, mildew, or pesticide residue when they're trying to get medicinal marijuana.
Yeah.
That would tickle Jack here to see that we've come to the point where we got federal officials coming out to marijuana gardens, state officials coming out to gardens to make certain that they're healthy and they're growing in a proper way for the patients. Instead of arresting you and cutting them down and giving you a heartburn, they're coming out to make certain that
well, it tickles
everything's
me, I
good.
can tell you that.
Yeah,
so I'm sure.
I love it. I wonder how Eric Holder feels.
I
Hi,
was
Eric.
looking for a grower, but good luck. Well, I was told last time, actually, that it would be better just to probably get it through the shops.
Well, there are a lot of shops, especially here in Multnomah County, but in other parts of the state, those dispensaries have been arrested because they don't really have a state license to do that. And so now this establishes a state licensing system, which will protect these shops and hopefully protect patients as well. One of the good things about Oregon's new dispensary model is it becomes the first that does not tax the medicine that gets to patients. You know, in Colorado and in other places in California where local municipalities have regulated it, in Colorado where the state has regulated it, there are often taxes imposed on the patient's marijuana. And so Oregon's model, House Bill 3640, did not do that, and I think that's a step in the right direction.
Okay, it does do what? Does let the consumer kind of make the decision for? I didn't quite understand that.
Well, it's still up in the air. All the rules have not been propagated yet. So, but it will allow patients who have a medical marijuana permit to shop at various dispensaries, and the patients will still be able to grow their own medicine or name someone they know and trust to grow it for them, the same as it is now. But the difference is that these dispensaries that have been kind of operating in a gray area that's not really regulated at all, now there will be some regulation from the Oregon Health Authority.
Well, good. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been ripped on every grower I've had.
Unfortunately, it's all too common. I think most of the patients that I've helped are ripped off several times before I started helping.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Oh, well.
All right, well, thanks for your phone call.
Hey, well, thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Bye.
If you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442.
Well, the government does an amazing job when they handle anything. They've done a great job with the budget. They've done a great job with helping us find ways into the future of just growing as an economy. I'm certain that once they finally get involved in the marijuana industry, it will be just as flourishing.
Okay, I hope you're right. I can hear the sarcasm-laden tones in your voice there, but all we can do is hope. You know, I mean, right now there's no regulation at all. So when patients go in these shops, hopefully they're not getting mold, mildew, and pesticide residue.
Well, so far I've seen these shops have a lot of pride in what they put on their shelves.
Yeah, they do.
And it's really, again, it's like walking into a Hollywood movie because you're waiting for the cut.
How many of these stores have you visited?
About 5, 6, 7 now. It's just, and you walk in, you know how you go into a candy store?
Because I grow and I don't
and you go in, and there's these jars you can reach in and get, jelly beans, or you can reach in.
They don't
and
let
get
you reach into the jar,
no,
do they?
but they got these gorgeous jars full of these beautiful, big, fluffy buds of different purple
Be
color,
like the
green
kid
color.
with his hand in the cookie jar, huh?
It is.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, bright days coming.
Well, I lose a lot of track of time when I go into those stores. It's like I walk in like it's 2, and I leave it's like 8:30 in the evening. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, that sounds like you got stuck in a time warp there or something. So you were just sampling the wares, or do they have some social places?
Social areas you hang out, and then it's sometimes you'll take one hit of this medication, and 40 minutes goes by, and you didn't know it.
I see.
I don't know
Well,
how
must
to
be
explain
good
it.
stuff. Must be good stuff.
It's just unexplainable. But we have great places here in Oregon to shop for your medication, and I would encourage you to come into Portland and to look around, and you can find places like Nikki's Diggity Dank, which I love going in there, and then there's the Monona Wellness Clinic downtown on First Street. Potlandia is fantastic. So if you get a chance to go to those places, it's like going into a candy store. Really, you'll love it. Place to sit down and chill out.
Okay. So you put in a plug for a couple of them there, I guess.
You call that a plug?
Well,
no, there's just wonderful places to hang out with great people and awesome products.
Well, that's a plug. That's okay.
Yeah, okay, it's a plug.
That's all right. So again, I'd like to get you folks out there involved in our petition campaign. If you're watching this in Oregon, we need your help on getting signatures. We're up over 15,000 signatures now. We need 87,000 valid registered Oregon voter signatures to qualify our statutory measure. We need 116,000 valid Oregon voter signatures to qualify our constitutional amendment. We have a little bit over 15,000 signatures on each. So if you want to get involved, you can come to our office. They're at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. That's 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. Go to our website, crrh.org. We'll get you there, as will cannabistaxact.org. So the petition drive's in full swing right now, and we'd love to get you involved. And if you see our petitioners out on the street, and there are several of them, for instance, at New Seasons on Northwest 33rd, or any place else, please go down there and see them. We're going to run a little video clip here in just a moment, a song by Human and the Human Revolution. It's one of my favorite. I know it's one of yours. It's called Tree of Life. Is that ready to roll? Maybe. Not quite.
Well, while we wait, I know that you are a big champion of the banking industry here in the state of Oregon, and occasionally you and the bankers get together for a big love fest, and Now you are going to be
We have another
establishing a
initiative
bank.
that hasn't started circulating to create a state bank of Oregon, where the bank will invest in the economy in Oregon. So we'll talk more about that in the future. But let's go ahead and run that video. Here's Human and the Human Revolution with Tree of Life.
I want to tell you all a little bit about a plant I know that can save the world. It grows long and tall and has flowers that can make your mind swirl. It's a funky plant with a fiber that is resistant to rain and mold. It's the strongest plant fiber known to man, the best rope you'll ever hold. Well, the pioneers covered up the wagon trains with a canvas made of hemp. And Washington and Jefferson grew it on their farms and said to make the most of it. The first stars and stripes were sewn on hemp, the first Constitution too. This is around the world for food, fiber, oil, medicine, and fuel. And if we press its seeds, we won't have no need for any other oil. We can make paints and inks, or run our car, we'll go back next season, it'll fix the soil. The most nutritious seed we can put in our mouth with omega-6 and 3. We can feed the world with the tree of life and live sustainably. But if we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to breathe. We'll grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the God's plan, growing wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La 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 la. Whoa, whoa.
Marijuana plant, they often call it dope, can also be made into oil or rope. Some people say you smoke it and you feel fantastic, but from hemp you can make an alternative to plastic. Made from plants, not petroleum, you see, so it won't still be around in 4003. It can biodegrade, which means there'll be less pollution. Just another reason for a hemp revolution.
Well, the flowers of the female hemp plant make the best medicines on earth. Helps cancer and AIDS patients eat their food. Helps those with depression overcome the blues. Glaucoma, epilepsy, nausea, insomnia, stress, cirrhosis, psychosis, pain, PMS. All the studies have been done and all the doctors agree, but they can't make money off this plant, you see, because it's free. It grows from a seed, wild and free like we ought to be. You know the future is grown in our own backyards. If we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to be. We'll grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the God's plan, growing wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La 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 la. Whoa, whoa.
In the mid-1930s, it was the billion-dollar crop. With the invention of the quarter kit, they could produce it non-stop. But then a smear campaign with Mexicans to blame started making people think it'd make your brain go pop. Yeah, Since then, it's never stopped. It ain't like getting high for paint and crack rock. Time to bring it back to nature. Time to bring back some life. Let the farmers do their job. Stop giving them strife. Renewable resources, life-giving forces. Panels for your cars and saddles for your horses. DuPont, Monsanto, making the wrong choices. Suicide genes, extinguishing our voices. Cutting down the trees, polluting the 7 seas. Leaving the fate of the planet to the corporate entities. Corrupt politics, warfare, disease. Now it's time to make a change. It's time to plant seeds.
Focus on nutrition, you the oil seeds. It gives you all the protein you will ever need. You can make it in a sandwich with jelly or jam, or make it in a soap or a lotion for your hands. You can make it into fuel, put it right in our cars, then we won't need the oil and won't have to start wars. You can make it into paper, right, as much as you please, cause it grows like a weed and we won't have to cut trees. So put your faith in hemp, such a versatile plant, and don't let the government tell us we can't, cause hemp can help us all in so many ways, and it doesn't mean that we will all be living in a daze. Versatility, sustainability, look at history, it ain't no mystery, hemp for victory.
If we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to be. We grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the good God's plan, growing wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La 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 la. Whoa, whoa. So in this modern day and age, when we seem to lack spirituality, this one single plank can bring us back almost 10,000 years in history. To the Shiva, Piranhas, the Jesus, the Christ, to the Buddha, the pagans, the goddess, the light, to commune with all the animals, to roam with all the trees, to realize the gotta seek is inside me. As the earth is the mother, we gotta take care of the earth, cause the earth is the mother that gives life birth. And we can heal all our relations with a single green plant, and we can start right now.
We got to legalize, we're gonna come alive. All the people who know what's up, gonna say what the heck we letting these suckers get away with it for. Come on and open the door. Are you with me? Are you with me? It's gonna take more than hippies to shut the suckers down. We're not fooling around, but they're keeping us divided, opposite-sided. What do we Americans do? We keep buying it. Black and white, they're making us fight and still in the same racist hatred justifies violence over nations. Gotta wake up to see the real enemy is the powers that be. From the opposition scene, wake up now to nature's creation. Sacred herb can unite the nations. Gotta legalize the herb of adoration.
All right. I just decided to end that song a little early, but so it goes. That's Human Revolution, with lots of pictures from the THCF Medicinal Garden. We're going to do a quick little show and tell segment. Right here we have hemp twine, and this hemp twine is the wick with hemp oil in our little lamp here, which demonstrates that hemp is an energy source that we need to renew and restore, and that's what our initiatives are about.
Oh, it's the light of truth.
That's a good way to call it. Right next door here, we're going to go down the line. Let's see if we can tighten in on our shot. There, you can see here is a hemp medicine, nifty little bottle. This one's empty. Right next to it, we have this hemp medicine. There's still a few tablets left in this. This is from the Abbott Pharmaceutical Company. This one also has a number of little tablets. This is from the Merrill Company. These are gelatin-coated hemp things. Can you get in any tighter on that one? Pull it on in, and it'll blow that up on your big screen TVs. Then we have another hemp pill, this one from the Fraser Company. So a whole variety of old cannabis pills. Next door we have a very big bottle from Eli Lilly, a fluid cannabis extract. Right over here next to it, also from the Wyeth Company, is extract of Indian cannabis. This one we had on last week, but it's got such a neat name, Killicoff, and it's chloroform and cannabis. You can see it has a nice syrupy texture to it. And then right here from Sharpened Dome, still in its original wax paper wrapping, it's cannabis indica. I don't want to take that off there, but the bottle is completely empty in this case.
Now, how can that be when our government says that there's no medicinal value to marijuana?
Very good question. This is a little seed package from the Strain Hunter people. They have 10 seeds. They sold this. They gave this to me so I could show it here on TV, but I guess they would charge you, if you were in Amsterdam or Europe, 32 euros, which is about $50 for those 10 seeds. That's about $5 a seed. Then we saw those film video clips here. This is the Strain Hunters Morocco expedition. Here's the Strain Hunters India expedition. Here they went to Trinidad and St. Vincent's in the Caribbean. And then there's also this one to Africa. We'll be showing clips from all of these in the weeks to come. And thank the folks at Greenhouse, Aryan and Franco and the Strain Hunters out there. And maybe they'll come here to America. I know they were in Colorado just about a month ago. So there you have it. We are about out of time. I want to thank you, Casper, for coming on. Thank you, viewers, for watching. We're going to go out on another great song with Mr. John Cornett. Go to our website, get our petition, help us legalize marijuana in Oregon, get involved in our campaign, make a donation, and help us restore hemp. Good night.
Thank you, Paul. Hey, you know what? I was just wondering, they should just come to Oregon. You know, we got all the strains here.
I've
Seriously.
invited them. We'll see. They haven't said yet.
Ganja. I want not a ganja. Ganja. I want to grow not a ganja. Stick it in the ground, water it down, not a ganja. 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 I like to share. Ganja. Renewable energy. Fine clothes for you and me. Ganja. Ganja.